morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Robert McNamara. I'm a senior attorney at the Institute for Justice. I'm joined today by my colleague Dan Albin, also an attorney at the Institute, and by Charlie and Cindy Birnbaum, who own the home you see right behind us. The Institute for Justice, for almost 20 years, has been at the forefront of the fight against eminent domain abuse, the fight against the use of public power for private gain. Our firm was behind the Kelo v. City of New London case that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And actually in the late 1990s, our first eminent domain case was right here in New Jersey, where we fought back the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, or CREDA's, attempts to take an elderly widow's home just to hand it over to Donald Trump to build a limousine parking lot. And today, we're back here in Atlantic City because once again, CREDA has decided to exercise the power of eminent domain to throw people off of their property for no good reason. CREDA's attempting to take the Birnbaum's longtime family home, not because they have a plan of anything they'd like to put on it, but simply because they think they can get away with it. And if that's the case, if the Birnbaum's home isn't safe, no one's home is safe. It's not just wrong, it's unconstitutional. You'll hear now from my colleague, Mr. Albin, then you'll hear briefly from Charlie, and at that point we'll be happy to take any of your questions. Thank you very much. Dan?
There is only one thing standing between the people of New Jersey and this flagrant abuse of power: the New Jersey State Courts. And this afternoon at 1:30 p.m., we'll have our first hearing in this condemnation case. The court will hear that CREDA's attempts to take the Birnbaum family home are unlawful and unconstitutional. New Jersey state courts are protective of property rights, and recently, the New Jersey Supreme Court in the Eminent case imposed strict standards on the use of eminent domain. Government agencies can only use the power of eminent domain for a public use and can only take property if it is necessary for that public use. CREDA's actions in this case fail to meet both of those standards. CREDA has no plan for what it plans to do with this property, and CREDA cannot show that the Birnbaum family home is necessary to any public use. CREDA's position is that there are no limits on its power to exercise eminent domain, but that is not the law. For far too long, CREDA has been allowed to get away with whatever it wants, and it has started to act like it can get away with whatever it wants. But that ends today in this case. Charlie?
Thank you for coming. First of all, I want to thank the IJ for giving me the opportunity to have a voice, to say that this house means a lot to myself, to my wife, to my family. It's meant a lot to the history, my parents, what they've gone through in their lives. And this is really a reflection and a memory and a way to honor them. This house was really something that allowed my parents a place to say, this is mine. They survived the Holocaust. They came to this country, to the greatest country in the world, and were given the opportunity to better their life and the life of their sons. And when they achieved home ownership in Atlantic City, it was a fulfillment of a dream, a lifelong dream for them. This house has given us options in life. When my mother was facing going to a nursing home, because we had a house, we had a choice, and she was able to stay in her home for 10 years with the help of a wonderful caregiver. So when she passed away, this house has been my place where I've been able to, first of all, reflect and think only good things about the life of my parents. And it's allowed me to do my job. I'm a piano tuner in Atlantic City. I've been able to do my job more efficiently over the years because I've had a base of operations to service many, many casinos and do it well. So, again, the idea that someone can come and say, no more, it's time to leave. Well, There's a slogan Atlantic City has that says, do AC. Well, they're telling me to do it somewhere else, and I don't want to. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We're happy to take any questions anyone has.
Are you I understood that it's condemned. You teach piano lessons and it's still. If you can give us a little background there.
Yes.
If you don't mind coming closer to the mic, please.
Okay. Yes, as I said, I've been a piano tuner in Atlantic City for 33 years. And so my work has been here. In fact, because of coming to Atlantic City in 1980 for the work, I was in a position to also help my parents as they were getting older. So after my mom passed away, my work didn't go away. So I continued maintaining the bottom floor. I have tenants on the second and third floors. So it's been a vital part of what I do.
And the tenants are still there?
Yes, yes.
And has the building been condemned?
And that the building is going through condemnation. That's why we're here.
Just to clarify, just on the legal.
I just want to say, it has not been condemned because the building is a poor building. It's a fantastic building. We have our 5-year inspection that was recently passed. So the building is not condemned because of its condition. It's because the CRDA and the state of New Jersey would like our building.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to clarify.
And actually, if anyone, either video or otherwise, wants to see the interior of the house, once this wraps up, we're happy to invite all of you inside Charlie's piano studio, where he's happy to play for you. Yes, ma'am.
Can you just kind of compare legally where you were with, I guess it was the beer cocaine case that you got involved, and where we are now? Has Atlantic City changed the way it operates until now, or is it going to continue? You know, like what's happened between then to bring us to now, which kind of feels like then? You know, what's happened in between?
It does feel an awful lot like then, and that's because CREDA's consistent position in both cases has been it can do absolutely anything it wants. CREDA's legal position is it can take any piece of property in Atlantic City for any reason, and all it has to do to justify the taking is say that it wants that piece of property. That can't be the law, and that's not the law. That's not what New Jersey courts say. And we're very confident that at 1:30, a New Jersey judge is going to tell CREDA exactly that.
Are they taking it to somehow turn over to rebel as they did with Trump? It's not directly. They're not taking it for rebel. Right?
As far as CREDA has said publicly, they're not taking it for anything. They have no plan for any of the properties they're condemning, and they specifically have no plan for the Birnbaum home. They're taking the Birnbaum home, they're not taking the building that is directly adjacent to it, they're not taking any of the property across the street, even though, as you can see, the property across the street is vacant. They're taking it for, as far as we can tell, what they explicitly call a land bank. They're going to take some land, they're going to knock things down, and then they're going to try really hard to come up with a good idea for what to do with it. That's exactly backwards.
Where is the Foray development? Where is that in relation to this?
That is basically directly behind me.
That does not include
it does not include Charlie's property.
Yeah, that's a few blocks that way.
What's the process? Mr. Birnbaum got a letter in the mail saying, if you can walk me through that, I mean...
Oh, sure.
Talk about the meetings.
We were away on vacation, and on my cell phone I got a call from a friend who said, "Did you see the article in the press? Your house is in the development zone that's going to be taken by the CRDA." I found out about this from a phone call, and then I got the press article and read about it, and I was really horrified. So we got a letter then that there would be a public meeting in this regard, and that was on June 19th of 2012, which I had the chance to attend. My wife and I did. And I had the chance to stand up for 3 minutes and voice my concerns about what they were planning to do in taking my property. And, how they were going to affect people. And I don't know if you have noticed, I'm sure, that beautiful lighthouse in the background. I've had the joy of seeing that lighthouse for 45 years. And at the meeting, I told the CRDA that, by the way, that's my lighthouse.
The decision you mentioned that your firm first did back in the 90s, do you feel that has any bearing or any similarity? Does that make you feel, I guess, as though you have a better chance of this one, anything like that?
Absolutely. So the reason we won that case in 1998 is that the court said CREDA can only condemn property if it can provide reasonable assurances of future public use. And there, the court said, there's no reason to believe this is going to be used for any one purpose rather than another. Maybe Donald Trump will decide to expand his casino, maybe he'll decide to build a limousine parking lot. That's not an assurance of future public use. Here, CREDA actually has even less. They don't even have a plan to build a parking lot or anything else. They have a plan to acquire some land and then develop a plan. It's take first, plan later. And courts don't allow you to do that in New Jersey or indeed basically anywhere else in the country.
Do you feel as though that case and this case is similar in that regard then, or? Sure.
This case is incredibly similar to our 1998 victory over CREDA. In both situations, CREDA is attempting to take property without providing any guarantee that it's going to use it for a public use. But eminent domain can only be used for a public use, and before the government's allowed to exercise that power, it has to prove that it's coloring within the lines, that it's following the state and federal constitution. CREDA seems to believe that the state and federal constitution simply don't apply to it. But they absolutely do. The power of eminent domain is limited, CREDA's power is limited, and it's been far too long since someone reminded them of that.
Are they getting paid for the property if they end up losing the case, or is it just they just lose the money?
If they lose the case, they're entitled to what's called just compensation, where a court determines how much compensation they'll receive, but there is no amount of money that can buy the Birnbaum family memories.
So what's the status of the property now?
Ms. Coking is no longer in the home. As she grew older, she was no longer able to maintain her residence, but she maintained her residence up until her health didn't allow, and that's what the law allows you to do. As of today, I'm not totally sure whether she still owns the home. I know she is out for health reasons, but I certainly take comfort in the fact that when my parents, or when anyone's parents, are no longer able to live in their home, that decision will be made by the family and by medical providers. It won't be made by state officials who are obsessed with casino development. What else?
Is the atmosphere in Atlantic City, like back in the 90s and when some of these other eminent domain cases came, Atlantic City was like on the upswing, and there was a real sense of building on success. Now, this book is barely open. That changes how this music is produced.
It certainly doesn't seem to be changing CREDA's approach. CREDA's approach to development appears to be identify buildings that are still standing and knock them down. Anyone who's ever played with Legos knows that's not the way you make things.
And where we're standing, who owns all this? Does CREDA own any of it?
I don't believe CREDA owns anything behind you, though there actually is tomorrow. There's a scheduled auction by a bankruptcy trustee selling a number of vacant parcels across the street. If what CREDA wants to do is assemble vacant land, I think everyone can tell that there's plenty of vacant land that people would willingly sell. There's no reason to destroy Charlie and Cindy's longtime family home just to make another vacant field.
Who owns the vacant land next door to Charlie's home?
CREDA.
Those used to be occupied by other homes that were acquired by CRETA, and just 2 weeks ago, the one directly next door was bulldozed.
The other buildings adjacent, are those owned by CRETA, or are they trying to take those as well?
No, those are neither. The buildings directly next door to the Birnbaum's home are owned by a private corporation, and CRETA is not acquiring them. We have no explanation for why it's so urgent to acquire the Birnbaum's home, but not acquire the residential property that surrounds the Birnbaum's home.
So, what are the dimensions of this property? How large is it? I guess what.
The property they're taking? Or
Yeah, that they would take from Mr. Birnbaum.
I mean, Charlie's lot is basically built out. You can't build a bigger house on this lot than is on this lot. So essentially, at best, they would be taking Charlie's home and then just replacing it with a very similar home that's owned by someone else, and there's no good reason to do that.
What is right next door to
That's the parking garage for
garage.
for the tower.
Apartments?
Yes,
Yes.
the mid-rises are residential apartment buildings.
And they're not trying to take that.
They're not taking those.
And what about the homes right over here?
The homes over here are in the condemnation footprint, so they are trying to take property to the south. That's south, right? They are trying to take property in this direction. They're not taking property in this direction, and they're not taking property moving towards the water. So if you think of and we can give you a hard copy of their acquisition map, essentially they have property down in this direction, and then there's a strange little, almost thumb coming off of their acquisition map. And the very tip of that thumb is the Birnbaum family home. It's not contiguous with anything else they're taking. It doesn't make any kind of geographic or geometric sense.
Have any of the homeowners reached out to you for representation?
In the footprint, no. The only property owners who we've been able to be in touch with to represent are the Birnbaums.
Do you know roughly how many properties CRD is trying to acquire in this specific instance?
In this specific instance,
It's
in
62 units, but I'm not sure how many parcels of land that equates to. But there were 62 units, like apartments and townhomes.
It is much
and whatnot.
fewer than 62 parcels of land.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. We're happy to stick around for one-on-one interviews, and once we wrap those up, we're happy to invite you into the Birnbaum's home, into Charlie's piano studio, where he's happy to play for you.
Do you know the judge in the courtroom at one point?
Yes, we're in front of Judge Mendez. Yes, just in the Atlantic City Courthouse right down here. Thank you.